In this demonstration, I want to show you how you can leverage the capabilities, the automation capabilities of ServiceNow from outside the ServiceNow platform. Basically, how you can make calls, API call to the ServiceNow platform. Specifically here, I'm going to be triggering a workflow that I've created, and that workflow has an API trigger, and that workflow will take some input, and based on those input, I have created an RPA robot that's going to be grabbing some information from the Yahoo Finance website. So maybe I should show you first what the robot is going to do. The robot is going to do that. It's going to open Google Chrome, go on the Yahoo Finance, just using Google here, but you get the idea. The robot is going to go to that URL, go into crypto page there, and then based on the symbol here on the left-hand side, I'm going to pass him maybe this one. I want to pass this value from the API, and I want the workflow to trigger the robot, the RPA robot that's going to be opening Google Chrome, go to that URL, grab the table, and grab me the value from that table. That's basically what I want to do. And the goal is to show you that you can do that, not the system of engagement. The trigger could be something in ServiceNow, but it could be something from outside of ServiceNow. That's why I'm recording this video, so you can see the automation you build on the platform. You can call it from outside of the platform. So I'm going to close this because the robot is going to basically do this. And in order to use the API, make the API call, I'm going to be using Postman, this utility. And this is a utility you can use to make API call to any third-party tools. And this is what I'm going to be using to interact with the platform with ServiceNow and pass those information. And I've basically pre-created 3 API calls, and I'm going to go over those. The first API call I'm going to make is to trigger my workflow. And here I'm going to pass the crypto symbol I want to look up. So that's the one I picked from the crypto website. And I want the workflow to trigger the robot that's going to be opening the browser, go in that particular page, grab the data. Obviously, I've built the RPA robot to perform those tasks. My point here is to show you how you can call it from an API. So that's what I'm going to be showing. So when I click send, this is calling the workflow that has an API trigger, and this should return. This will eventually return an execution ID. So this return the execution ID, and this is a unique identifier for the workflow I've triggered. So at the moment, there's a workflow running on the platform, and if we look in the background, we should see the robot is doing things. See the windows moving and closing. So that's the robot in the background performing those tasks. So if you want, you can use the API to trigger get the status of this workflow. Here I'm using a GraphQL query, but depending on what language you want to use in your own app. I'm passing the execution ID of the flow. This is just to show that you can return the status of the workflow. So here I'm using a GraphQL API call, and you can see at the bottom it says the flow is completed. So that's just a way for you to, if you wanted to do asynchronous connection to ServiceNow, trigger something in ServiceNow and make some calls to check that the flow is completed, you could do that. It's one way of doing this. Or you could have a callback from ServiceNow to your application if you wanted to. Once we've done that, I can actually look up in the RPA queue. So I think we want to check that the value for that currency, that symbol. Yeah, I've created another API call that's basically looking in a specific table in the ServiceNow platform, looking for the work item response. So what's a robot? What it is a response from the robot. So that's what I'm going to be triggering there. So it's BUSD. USD is a bit of a weird name. So I think I'm missing a B there. So I'm passing this as my query parameter. And I'm using the table API at this moment. Every table on the ServiceNow platform has an API I can use to return values, records. That's what I'm going to be using to return the response from the bot, which should have the value. So I'm going to click send, and I'll get the value from the API. And this corresponds to the work item in my RPA tables in ServiceNow. So see, in just 3 API calls, I can trigger the workflow. The workflow is going to be calling a robot. The robot's going to a legacy app, doing a bunch of automated tasks in the UI. And I capture the metadata, the response from that legacy app. Here I'm calling the, I'm looking up in the work queue of my robot. And for that particular item that we've been looking up on the Yahoo Finance website. So this value, if I want to show you where this information resides technically on the platform, I'm going to be going into the RPA UI. I think I already had the table open, but just want to show you in the RPA UI. Once you have the RPA workspace open, I can locate the queue. And I have a specific queue that created for my RPA project. This is where I'm storing the response, the request and response for the robot. So if I go in work queue item, I should see the one that we just submitted today. So this was passed from the API call to the workflow, to the workflow, to the RPA queue. And when the robot is done opening Chrome, going on the Yahoo Finance, find the value for that crypto symbol, and the robot is putting the information in that response content. So the way I've showed you before, it was with the API. I'm showing to you in the UI of ServiceNow, but everything can be done from outside of the platform. So I hope that gives you a good sense of how you can leverage those API of the ServiceNow platform to use those RPA capability of ServiceNow, workflow capability with Flow Designer with those API trigger. That's how I've triggered the workflow in that example. I've used an API trigger, and how you can query any record using the table API. So there's a lot of options out there for you to interconnect the platform with other platform and other system. Bye.